we're recording. Let's see, you're down. All right. Doing a countdown. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1, mark.
Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome back to the season finale of Metal Gear Monday's Revengeance Portable Ops Edition, where, of course, you'll find your favorite conversations around Metal Gear and Kojima-related content delivered to you through tactical podcast action. I'm your host, Warren Minix, and with me, as always, is Mr. Chris Hampton. How we doing, Chris? This is the listener response, man. Season 2 in the books.
Oh my God, it feels like we just started this yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It does feel these last few months have flew by.
Yeah. Well, thanks to the listeners for sticking with us through this portable season.
So this whole episode is going to be based on listener responses. Anything that has to do with either the season, the franchise, just stuff that has come across our email or in our Discord to discuss on this particular episode. I will say that, unfortunately, Tori is a little preoccupied on a special assignment. We do miss you, Tori, and we look forward to moving on to the next season when the time comes. So yeah, Chris, we don't have to jump in like right off the bat, But I gotta say,
right,
we're two games in,
mm-hmm.
right? I think this was a good second game to go through.
As far as like your playthrough experience of Metal Gear.
Yeah, I think I like that it, like, obviously we started Metal Gear Solid 3, right? Like that's the game. That's the one that most people sort of put on a pedestal, tend to be, most of the community's top game. And this was chronologically, story-wise, but also chronologically the next game made, very drastic as far as how you played it, or sort of the boxes that it ticked when it came to it. It had a lot more of like that. It didn't feel like the MGS2s, your MGS4s, definitely not MGS5. It just had like it was like a nice change of pace, knowing that we're only going to have like 2 or 3 of these. So it was a good little snap. And because I think this one's sort of forgotten. Maybe not by the community, but writ large, I think that Portable Ops gets sort of left over. And we have a couple of canon chat that we have to bring up in our listener responses, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's exactly why it gets left out, because of the canon issue. You go in the wiki and they're like, everything below this is just like not canon. But, this is a game that came out that had Kojima's seal of approval when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So take that for what it's worth. I don't know. I mean, people spend so like thousands of hours, right, writing fan fiction, and then nobody bats an eye at that. But
nope.
You throw a game out there that like Kojima did not produce, direct, and make the trailer for and all that, and people just lose it. So I don't know.
It's so weird. It's especially after, I would hope that going through this season, at least everybody that's been listening through, having Ryan Payton on was like super informative.
I mean, I think it's great that we got to talk to Ryan. Big shout out, thank you to him for being on the show and talking with you and Tori.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome that Metal Gear is just one of those communities where we do get the benefit of insight from people who helped create the series, and that makes a huge difference. And I think it does a lot to keep it alive.
Yeah. And it feels so genuine too. Like, it doesn't feel like it's just like, hullabaloo of just like, I guess I kind of like the whole experience, where they just sort of throw out like, some, maybe it's a real answer, but you don't really know. It's nice that we didn't really have to like edit out a lot of stuff. We didn't all of our questions were sort of like given the thumbs up. We didn't do anything, like we didn't press any buttons. Like, everything felt like green flag. Go have, we'll answer it as best we can, as long as we can remember the answer. Like, that was really cool for me, at least.
Well, should we dive into some responses here?
So I tried to be somewhat organized, which thank you for everybody that has dropped in some sort of discourse with us, whether it be about the game, maybe the hosts, maybe the future of the show. But we did want to try to have a little bit of organization with this today, but we have to start, obviously. So we have a patron, Jason, who made sure to send in. Jason has definitely been named a few times. He's definitely one of our more active patrons. He simply sent in, can we just get to Peace Walker already? Now, I made sure to scrub through some things. I thought I saw that Jason was actually having a pretty good time with Portable Ops. So what I will say is, Jason, yes, we're going to get to Peace Walker. But I don't have dates. I don't think we have dates yet on next season or anything like that just yet. It's been a weird year, surprisingly. But
yeah,
Peace Walker is in the future, yeah. So please, Chris, are we getting to Peace Walker already?
Yeah, we will. Chill out. Hey, Jason, my question for you is, when are you going to get to Peace Walker? I know this is Jason of Jason and Allie fame, right?
That's correct.
Yes. So, yeah, when's Jason going to cover Peace Walker? When are you and Allie going to play it?
Oh, that'd be hype. So, I figured that's a nice little primer.
Yeah.
So, now I made sure we did get a lot of very nice sort of appreciation, I would say. And I didn't want to make it a whole thing about that. That seems, I think we're a little more humble than that. But we do have two particular, they're patrons, so I'm going to keep calling them that because we love you guys so very much. Our patrons are fantastic. So Alex had thrown in, just wanted to say thank you for all the time, effort, and labor you put into making pods for us. I appreciate everything you do for us, and I'm very happy and proud to be a patron. I thought that was very nice.
It is. Yeah. Thanks, Alex. I like Alex. He's a good kid.
Yeah. It probably gets the active award.
Yes, I think that's true, Alex. You get the most active in the Discord award.
Anytime you do a stream, anytime a round table, whether it be for a movie or a video game for movie of the month or game of the month, man, he really tries to make it like homework. And I mean, He does have a good sort of reasoning. He has a lot that he hasn't experienced. So he uses like us as an excuse to get it. And he's got people to talk to about it. So, yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah. And, as long as we don't have to bring the Discord banhammer down too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just keep it in line, Alex. And we're good.
It's been pretty light.
It's been good. You've been on good behavior lately.
And then Silky Johnson, Cody, he says that I know I was on the MGM cord hiatus for a hot minute, but getting involved again and chatting with y'all pretty much daily has been a huge highlight. I appreciate it, and I hope I get to meet at least some of the community in real life one day.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to shout out like personal stuff, but maybe some moves are happening that are getting people just a tiny bit closer. I know we do have some international listeners. We do have, at least from where I live, literally across the country. But yeah, it'd be great to finally figure out. I mean, even though I'm still like the new guy, I am like, you guys are internet friends. I've never gotten a chance to meet anyone in person yet, which is interesting. I think it'll happen eventually. It seems like the world's starting to slowly welcome that again. I don't know if I'm getting on a plane yet. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, man, Cody, I hope we can meet in real life, do something, that would be fantastic when it comes to that. I got a guest room. That's the best I can do. But these two patrons are like super involved, and they're definitely, they're like the sort of gold standard as far as I'm concerned with how a patron should be, especially with just their insight. And sometimes, I love when a conversation with Cody happens and he's seen a movie 3 times that I've only seen once, and I'll get a lot of information up front, and it's just very, very fantastic, where I'm like, thank you. You clearly did your homework to bring something to the table. And then Alex, like I said, he's always around to give an opinion, and he'll speed run anything, or at least he'll try. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Heck yeah. 2 pillars of the community. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Cody.
So we do some Patriot Club pods as well. And those are the sort of PCs that we do on the off weeks for patrons. And a couple things came in for us around, not necessarily the Patriot Clubs, but as I looked at what they were referencing, I'm like, these had to have been not on the main show. I guess one is a little telling of me, but whatever. So Ghost Dad himself actually chimed in, and, maybe he's trolling us, but he was, at least we're worth answering. Would we be interested in doing a Death Stranding novel pod? Just a single pod on the novel. Would you be open to that?
I don't know. I mean, is the novel only in Japanese? Is it translated?
I don't think so. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is available in English.
I don't know. I don't read books, so
okay. I don't know what a book
What's
is.
A book? Alessio, I would be interested in doing a reading, and if it's good and if I feel like I got something to say about it. Yeah. That sounds like a good idea.
I'd be down for that. I'd have to read it too. It is not on my list, but if I were to say anything was good in that game outside of atmosphere, the story was actually engaging. Maybe getting to the story was where the frustrating bits kind of got there, but
yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about that Death Stranding trailer for the director's cut, did we?
No, we haven't. I mean, I guess if you want to take 30 seconds to bring it up, I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll just a quick side bit here of our review of that trailer.
Yeah.
Hey, I posted it in the Discord and was like, what is this? So that was my community engagement around it. So
it was so weird. Like it obviously was a troll, right? It was very Metal Gear focused. Even though it had no reason to be. It was Sam, hiding in a box, doing it the wrong way. There's
the music,
the orange. Like there were so many little things in there that it was like, what are we watching right now? And then it just finished with like director's cut, Death Stranding. I was like, oh no. So I was like, we just got trolled.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. But clever and fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
All right, reaction corner, bringing it back, and then yeah, and then Tyler, who is a listener and a patron. So I got this sent to me, and it had to have been through a Patriot Club. I don't know why I would mention Fortune in a Portable Ops episode, but maybe. And he basically said that I love that Fortune from MGS2, if anybody doesn't know, was Warren's sexual awakening for Black women. And basically he said he loves it. So yes, I'm married to a beautiful Black woman, and I think I traced it back as far as I could, and it was Fortune was like the first time where I was like, this is kind of my thing.
Yeah. I seem to recall we were talking about Fortune when we were talking about how outlandish the bosses have gotten, like progressively. In a chronological release. How outlandish the bosses have gotten with superpowers, and you said it kind of all kicked off with Vamp and Fortune, and I was like, oh yeah, I think you're right about that.
Because it was like what a weird. That, you know what? Maybe that'll be like one of those off-season conversations we have. I know the OG crew did at least a little bit of a boss chat. Yeah, but I bet you we could pivot on it and just have like a way of like maybe bosses that made an impact on us or anything that makes us not just talk about Psycho Mantis for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that tends to be like the go-to, even though I would probably put it as my number one. But I bet you there's a way, because I don't think we three have at least been able to engage pretty consistently over discussing like our favorite blank.
Right.
Of some of these games. And I bet you we could pivot so that it's not just
top 10 Metal Gear bosses.
Exactly. And hopefully not to sound like clickbaity, more about our experiences. I think that's like our whole brand is, at least it's a personal thing. It's not just like a counting down from 5 to 1.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, Tyler, thank you for chiming in on that. And yes, that is, I think that's as true as it comes, because I tried to date it as best I could, and that was very close to where I would chime it in. So now some Portable Ops stuff. Listener and patron Nick wanted to shout out the track Calling to the Night and that is an underrated track in the pantheon of melodramatic Metal Gear music. He then continues with, I'm glad that Portable Ops got a full treatment and is getting some deserved love. While it's far from a perfect execution, Portable Ops deserves recognition for its creative experimentation with gameplay mechanics and systems, as well as its very Metal Gear story, which was doing a lot of things first in its themes and plot points that would be adopted by future mainline MGS titles. It's clunky from its home on the PSP, but not one for fans to miss, with all of its sweet, sweet Metal Gear melodrama, military soap opera absurdity that we've all come to know and love. And I think we agree on that. That seems like right up our alley as far as like what we have done with the episodes. At the end of the day, it's weird that the canon sort of got called in, because this feels like a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
I think so.
I think so too. And again, we've spent plenty of time sort of like harping on the PSP and all that, but yeah, the story, I think, I'm not going to ask you to rank it, Chris, but I do think it was a strength. And I think that the mechanics and stuff that Nick had mentioned here, the systems. So outside of being in the menu, like for minutes, every other couple of minutes, you're picking, right? You have to check your loadouts. You have to check your spot. Like, what intel did you grab? Who am I going to send on this mission? Outside of if that itself felt tedious, I think the actual UI and the layout was actually clean, like good. Like I think it's and it felt very Metal Gear. It felt sort of on point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of forgot that because I was playing it on a large screen. That it was a game designed for small screens, so it probably by necessity had to be a super clear thing visually, right?
Right. With massive A, B, C, so you can see exactly.
Yeah, but it works, and it does, I think, play well with the type of gameplay you get in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it ever knocked, like, that never felt like that was what was slowing the game down for me. I waited for it. I was ready to mock it. And it really felt like part of the game. Like, it almost felt like a tactical RPG in a sense. Like, I'm like, I got to pick all my little pieces before I start the mission. If it was like, obviously, if I was replaying to like get a loadout or something or get some intel. But when it came to like moving forward with the story, I was ready to hate it. And it wasn't really much of a problem for me. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So as far as characters go, so Tori called out to some of the listeners while we were recording an episode, and they were talking about if we recruited any extras. And I know I brought up paramedic at the time. So Lee, El Bubio is his Discord name, but Lee has actually like been super active when it came to like the interview responses and like questions for our interview guests. Mm-hmm. He's been like really active with that, and I love getting his insight on certain things. So when he was asked, he basically said, I bumbled into recruiting paramedic. Just went to the back of the hospital to scavenge, and the radio room was highlighted, and she parachuted onto the roof for some reason. I recruited Python, Rykov, and technically Null, but didn't start a new playthrough. So if he had played again, he would have had those characters in this. Balls to recruiting Gene, as you have to kidnap 200 soldiers before you fight him. No, thank you. And I believe the others take more than one playthrough to unlock. So yeah, maybe in 10 years, I might do a playthrough again.
Right on.
I like that. As far as characters, I know we mentioned it slightly, but was that something that you were like trying to do? Were you like going through a guide and saw like, oh shit, I can get Rykov if I did A, B, and C?
Yeah, I kind of sneaked and peeked at like what sort of legacy characters I could get. Mm-hmm. So I tried, but there are some difficulty spikes in how you unlock some of those guys. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm not that persistent when it comes to my gaming. Few folks got left behind.
But aren't you a Destiny player? Isn't that like your whole thing is like, just make sure my skill curve keeps getting better so I can grind out new gear or anything? Isn't that like...
Oh, man. I haven't touched Destiny in like about a month and a half, I think.
You're all about sailing the high seas.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit of the what is it? Pirate game. You just were talking about it. You mentioned it.
Yeah,
Why
Sea of
can't
Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, yeah. Yeah, I've actually been playing a little bit of that because I wanted to play through the Jack Sparrow stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm playing that with a friend of mine. It's really good. Like the
Nice.
story stuff. Yeah. If anyone ever wants to like hop on and run through one of those tall tales, like hit me up. I'll do it. It's fun.
Now you said you like chimed in on the Jack Sparrow stuff. Was it the Jack Sparrow stuff that like pulled you in?
No, it was my buddy wanted to do it and he pulled me in. So
Okay. He's a big Pirates guy? Is that what like Pirates of the Caribbean is in the movies? Or
he's a bit of a Disney head, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really go in for Disney stuff hardcore
Okay.
like that. Like I saw the first Pirates movie and I thought, oh, this is good, but really haven't pursued it beyond that.
Yeah, some of them get a little long-winded. They get a little long in the tooth.
How many
But
are there now? There's like
I think there's 5.
oh, that's so
I think
many.
there's
It's-
5.
That's
But
probably
they
too
always
many.
have good actors playing the villain. So
Yeah, that's true.
I tend to like if they have Bill Nighy and I think what was it, not Jeffrey Rush. I don't think it
Mhm.
was. And then they had Anton Chirrut. What is that guy's name? He was in Skyfall, but he played like Barbossa,
Oh yeah.
or not Barbossa, right? He played like a really famous pirate that I am like butchering any sort of lore that has to do with pirates.
Not
But,
Davy Jones, right?
Well, Davy Jones was Bill Nighy,
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah,
they all-
that's right.
and they're fun, I guess. But the first one did feel very special at the time, you know. So, and that's got the best line ever of the "You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner.
Yeah.
You're in one." It's like such a great like trailer moment. But yeah, so back to Metal Gear. Look, when it came to some of the recruiting characters, I think I liked it better. Like I planned on, if I, use the tranquilizer to kill instead of a shotgun to kill a person, kill a boss fight, I would be fine, right? I would probably get a character out of it. It would work to my benefit. But as far as that though, I actually liked like a paramedic because it was just one of those, like, I think you had to do something a certain amount of times, but it was nice because it just had to do with like the gameplay.
Mhm.
Like it was like if you did a certain part of the story, you were rewarded with a character,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I just, but otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't have done the kidnap 200 soldiers. I think I got pretty high up there though. I think I got close to 100 just naturally sort of like getting into the gameplay loop. Once you could just hit a button to like send them back to the truck, I really didn't mind so much like taking them,
Yeah.
So, but I got pretty high when it came to it just because I think I was just getting good at it again. And I think I was trying to get my chops back up for when we get to some of the, I guess, earlier games because the clunky controls of like interviewing in like Metal Gear 2, the Metal Gear Solid 2 is rough. Trying to get those dog tags. I kind of
Mhm.
suck at that, at least from that era of that. Now I got another one here, and unfortunately, it doesn't have. I don't want to like read someone's email address out. That I don't want to do that. It doesn't
Right.
have a name attached to it, so just for their anonymity, feel free to reach out if you have a means to. If this is your literal response, emailer. So it says, not to be the ultimate Gene Downer, but I gotta disagree with Warren's love of this boss arena. I can appreciate the thrill of a close quarters battle, but this one left me feeling a little too much like Solid Snake and Liquid on top of Metal Gear Rex, or Raiden and Solidus on top of some rando building. The difficulty wasn't anything to complain about, but the restricted setting does leave a bit to be desired in the way of creative tactics.
Hmm.
So, all right. I know that I have my moments of being critical, but
Yeah.
I think I'm the one that brings the love a lot. I try to see the best in people.
Well, I like how some random building is like the New York City courthouse.
I mean, is that emailer wrong though? Do we know what building it is? It could be anywhere, I guess.
It's the one with the Washington statue out in front of it.
Is that true? Is it like a special building? Like, is it an actual like, this building?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Just for the sake of the emailer, I would love to hear what this is, so we can like have a little bit
Federal
of
Hall.
round. So that battle is on top of Federal Hall.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Some random building. It's Federal Hall.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is really good, guys. Like, oh my god, that's such a cool little thing. Why did I never? I don't know if I've ever processed that it could be a famous, like something special. And of course, in Metal Gear fashion, it's a fight on top of Federal Hall. That's incredible.
It is legit.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, sorry, emailer. I don't want to blow up your spot. So if you do not mind, feel free to reach out again, just so maybe in a future episode we'll give you some love, because that was a hilarious response. So I have a response from Asif, who is a very special patron. He likes to chime in through the literal comment section in Patreon. And we're actually going to be dedicating a PC episode to him. One of the Patriot Club episodes coming up in the near future by the time you listen to this. I'm really looking forward to that. And I don't want to reveal what it is about yet, just in case, because I think the community will be excited to hear what we end up talking about with that one. But I want to make sure I bring up a few things. He brings up a lot of Peace Walker in this, which is fine. I'm not going to call him out on it. But he basically says the unique content of Portable Ops really is amazing. It does feel like experiencing a new Metal Gear game, and it fills the gap in Metal Gear, he says, coverage. So I'm gathering he's mentioning story. And he says, the game is actually decent. I feel like Big Boss plays MGS1, but with the aspects of Peace Walker. So that makes sense too. And he puts in parentheses, Peace Walker is my favorite game. So that's okay. We get it.
Well, that's fair.
He drops a few things about some stuff, especially about OG MGM. But he likes that we are practically his Metal Gear timeline, the podcast. But he then puts, but it's more fun. So, okay. And he enjoys, he loves to just have a list going of how many times they've retconned the series. This was a good one to start doing that already. And he says that including Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 3 and 5, Portable Ops are so close to a secret, like a sequence in story that doesn't involve like dramatic changes. They tend to have like an ebb and flow. So he's definitely feeling the buildup of the story as you go through each of those 4 games, which is really cool. And the thing I like enough is that he mentions that the 4 of them also find their way of building up the mechanics and the quote unquote legend of Big Boss. I think that's a pretty fair way to sum it up, at least as far as if you're looking at it from the protagonist's side of you. Like it's another like notch in the belt of, yo, shit, did you hear about that thing Big Boss did in like the 70s, you know? Did you when it came to this, I guess, like, we've talked about the bosses, we've talked about the baddies, the good people. When it came to this, we had a lot of good discussion around Big Boss in 3, and our main like discussion point was how it was still David Hayter, right? And he wasn't Solid Snake, he was Big Boss. 2 totally different characters, and it felt like 2 different characters. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just like having a laugh and doing the same guy, but he's a clone dad of him, right? How did you feel when it came to the voice work in general? Just because, you know, it's a lot of text and a lot of reading, but in the moments that there is voice work by most of the characters, how did you feel about Big Boss and his interactions with most of the other characters, just as a whole? Because we've done individual ones, but overall, how did you feel? Like, emotive, happy, sad, like not really? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the story, I think, was compelling for sure. And it was among some of the most well-written connections between characters. Like, I believe the interactions between, you know, Snake and the bosses that we went up against in this game.
Right.
And I can't say that for all Metal Gear games. Not going to name names or anything. But Yeah. I think it is emotionally compelling, you know? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I think the one thing that I kept sort of bringing up outside of just saying the story, I did appreciate you just brought it up. I like that Big Boss had a history with most of the characters, or at least it was like a adjacent character to someone very important. So maybe he never met Gene, but Gene and the boss were tight, right? So like they already had these sort of like added stakes that usually it could feel cheap, right? Like they're just saying someone that was super important in the previous game to like fake, like make them sound important. But I didn't get that vibe with this, with at least the story of this game. It didn't feel like they were just saying, well, we got to put the boss in because everybody loves her. So we got to like drop her name or something just to keep players interested. No, they kind of doubled down and tried to say like Gene was the next boss. And he was like in his own mind, and they gave him his own like special power, which really did play a role in a game that came out a decade later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like little things like that. Going back, you don't really like catch on. Like it's just sort of like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. He talks and people listen. You know.
Yeah.
But it's clearly, like I said, you mentioned the Kojima stamp of approval in a sense, and clearly he had a little notebook and was like, oh shit, this talking and listening thing is a pretty good idea. I might want to, you know, take that and evolve it and turn it into something violent, you know. It's cool. And yeah, like I said, we definitely tossed around all of the like the characters, the relationships. I know Tori would love to hear us bring up Jonathan one last time.
Oh, Jonathan.
It's her favorite boy in all of Metal Gear Portable Ops. But yeah, just I think the character, like I said, it felt like it's such a pun or a terrible way to turn this phrase, but it did feel like a bite size, like here's like a little story of Big Boss. Like it didn't feel like it was supposed to be this massive thing. It just felt like, oh right, in 1972, Big Boss did this. Like if he had a whole book, it'd be like chapter 6. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be like why the book was written. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
I like that a lot, and that ties into Asif's Legend of Big Boss. I think that's the big thing that I think that works for me, because Big Boss, as the years have gone on, like I love the boss. I think that tends to be like my default favorite character, but Big Boss, as we've been focusing on these games, he's starting to climb. Where I'm like, damn, this guy's pretty badass. And I know we had talked about Metal Gear 4 because it's like the end of the saga. Mm-hmm. And I guess for spoilers, but I mean, come on, guys, we're doing a Metal Gear podcast here. But when you get that, you know, and yada yada as Big Boss, you're like, what the fuck? And he shows up at the end, that whole thing. It's really cool, man. Like it's a great send off. And Big Boss is just a fucking dope character. And this is just another way to build up how fucking cool he is.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
As far as the canon, we got a lot of stuff about canon. We definitely talked about canon a lot in the episodes, in the Discord. But I did, something was sent to us that I think at least sums it up enough that I think it would be convincing enough for at least you and I on it. I made sure to drop it in the notes. But it has, in Metal Gear Solid 4, there are a few Portable Ops scenes present in a cutscene. The scenes that are shown are Gray Fox fighting Big Boss fighting with Cunningham, Big Boss fighting Raja, some sort of a crash. I'm assuming it would be Raja if I'm not mistaken. Elisa dying in Snake's arms, and Gene's death with Big Boss looking over. That's most of the game as far as the story.
Yeah, right? I think so.
So yeah, there's no null. They don't really technically mention that Elisa and Ursula were, you know, not two different people and psychokinetic powers and all that, but that's pretty fair. There's a Metal Gear. You have the guy that was a defector, quote unquote, from the CIA. He got sort of canned. He was sneaking around with the Department of Defense. The big bad is, you know, dying at Big Boss's hands. You get a little bit of null in there because it's Gray Fox fighting. Like that's enough for me. I mean, even if the whole game is in quote unquote canon, that's I don't know. The game feels pretty canon to me. That seems to be a pretty good like nod to Portable Ops being like we trust it. We're in.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like it is inclusive enough and it matches the tone, well enough that it makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, and I wish I did a tiny bit more research of where this is in the game, but I know it was I know it was like a big old like this is what happened to Big Boss. Like it was about like Snake learning about what the fuck was going on prior to a lot of this stuff, because 4 is where it's like we're well past anything going on in Portable Ops and Metal Gear Solid 3. We're in like, I think, isn't it like the distant future of like 2016 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
But we got a lot of people saying that really cool that Ryan Payton and Kazuma Junichi and technically all the other interviews, because just as they were scattered through, some people had sent in, big shout outs to Fingers and Peter Lurie, who came in and chatted with us early in the year before our season started. I really appreciate how people were like, yo, that was awesome. Like, thanks for talking to someone I haven't heard talk about Metal Gear in a long time. And Fingers was cool because he was like, he's got Kojima Frequency and stuff like that. So it was nice to have some music chat too.
Yeah, so. It was.
Oh, that's right. You were on the Fingers one with me, right? You were there, right?
I think I don't know. I can't remember.
I think you were on the Finger. Like I think I made it a point to be like, if we're doing a music one, if you can be there,
yeah,
I'd like you. Not that you have to. You're not only identified as being a musician to me, but I know sometimes it's fun hearing you talk about it. You can see the little glint in your eye when you start talking about music.
Yes.
I like to bring that out of you.
Yes, talking about music. God, I'm so excited for shows. Oh my God, can't wait.
I feel you. I'm gonna get settled because I have a real problem with shows. I will go as often as I can, and I'm trying to like take my time. At least I'm learning to remember how good they were. And honestly, I miss playing shows. Oh my God.
Yeah, playing
really
is fun.
Do.
It is.
I really do. Speaking of interviews, so New Boot Goofin.
New Boot.
He's one of our patrons. He did try to chime out just as we were going. We actually surprisingly had a decent amount of like Death Stranding chat because we did Stalker as one of our like MGM goes to the movies pods. And there was a lot of relation of Death Stranding to the concept of Stalker. I don't want to have to go into the details of the movie, but if I can say that they're somewhat related, you can understand where Stalker is sort of coming from. And Nubu Goofin one is actually concerned. He was like, hey, have we ever tried to reach out to Low Roar? And maybe we'll just see if something like that. So I figured, all right, might as well throw it in this app. Maybe we'll reach out to Low Roar.
I would be down to talk to Low Roar.
Oh, yeah. And just in case, if anybody doesn't know, the copywritten music in Death Stranding is fucking incredible. It's a bummer that it's copywritten music because if you watch someone play it, you can't hear that part. But especially how cinematic it is in that game. Really impressive, man. Atmosphere.
Yeah.
Really, really, really well done. I have one final one from Original Shiz, but before we start jumping into any of that, I know last time we did at least a couple of iTunes reviews. We got a few more since 2021 had started, so I figured might as well drop a couple of them in just so people know that if you chime in, we like to do our best to make sure that you, as listeners, recognize that we love you guys. And we try to give you any credit that we can. So Let's Dally Wally, at some point in 2021, had mentioned that this podcast is incredible for MGS fans. What a great way to relive the games with others who love it as much as you. So thank you, Let's Dally Wally. You're pretty dope.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to hear that. And that's through iTunes, which is cool. And then it says Wami Do Me. I have no idea if it's Wowie Do Me or Wame Dome. But 2 thumbs up. Someone who routinely watches Metal Gear playthroughs on YouTube to pass the time. I'm absolutely thrilled I found this podcast. It truly brings back my childhood in a vivid way.
That's so touching. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that one. Thank you. I have one question that I hope that I'm not wrong in saying. We've definitely talked about it in passing, but I want to like put the hammer down because Original Shiz, that's the name, asked the question, Do we want more Metal Gear?
I think I'm good. Being for real. Yeah. Like I think Metal Gear has run its course and I'm okay with that. And I want to see some new stuff out in the world now. I want to see what comes after Death Stranding. I want to live in a world where we just keep reusing the same old IPs and ideas.
Now, does that include something along the lines of like I think we've recorded together. I know Alessio and Tori and I definitely discussed the casting of the movie. Allegedly, coming out sometime in the near future with a director who's interested. Would that be something? Is that like at least, would that scratch the itch?
I think that's different.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, Metal Gear is kind of like what a movie could be like if it was a video game.
Sure.
Because it's so cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like seeing the reverse interpretation of that, how heavily they borrow from the cinematic pieces of Metal Gear is going to make or break that movie.
Yeah. I'm not that I'm worried because, I'm no screenwriter. I have no idea how to make good movies,
Mm-hmm.
or at what's a bad movie versus just watching them. But like, is it going to be butt shots? Right? Is he going to crawl into a vent? And we're going to get a great look at like Snake's butt while he's going. Or it's
they did that
really sultry.
The Doom movie, didn't they? They did a first person thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. We should. Yeah. I don't want any cheesy things like that, but like some of those like long shots and hall passes.
Right.
That stuff is like real good and moving.
Yeah. Yeah, even on older consoles, it still was very, very jarring, very stark and impressive. I totally agree. So I'll circle back real quick. So IP, you mentioned that. Now, how about like remakes? What if Blue Point got their hands on Metal Gear Solid and gave you like a fresh PS5 era Metal Gear Solid remake? Would that be something that you're okay with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with whatever. I'm not.
But do you want it? I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's not like this is recorded or anything, so you're not going to be like held accountable for what you have to say. I want to know because this is something we don't really chat much about.
Here's what I want: is I want some finished video games. I'm tired of playing like all this stuff that just comes out and it's half done. Like, I was really excited about Biomutant that was coming out.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It got really bad reviews. I ended up getting it anyway because I just wanted to experience it. It seemed like a new, fresh idea of something. And it's got a lot of great qualities, but there are also a ton of problems with it. And I think that's largely to do with the fact that it kind of got blown out of proportion, in the marketing. It was an indie studio that was like being published by a bigger studio, but they were still indie. They were still small.
Sure.
I don't know. But then I have like Cyberpunk, which I still just can't bring myself to finish that game. I deleted it off my Xbox like 2 weeks after it came out, have not looked back, and probably never will touch that game again.
Yeah, I know. And it's a bummer because you want to say that too, because even this, like, I guess 5 is the most recent example because, sorry guys, look, we can mention Survive, but I don't know if I can talk about Survive without just disappointment. Like, I won't shit on the game. We could talk about
Survive.
But I can include it for a sense because at the time the Fox engine still looked fantastic. But I do miss the era when games would come out finished, right? Mm-hmm. And like Final Fantasy VII was one of my favorite games last year, and it's a chapter of a game. It's gonna be, I don't know, 4 parts. We just got like the PS5 baby, 6-hour interim before the next game, and yeah, while I love the experiences I'm getting from it, it does feel like this piecemeal thing. And Metal Gear never really had that at first. Like, you got a complete batshit story and like crazy gameplay stuff, but it was a total package. And I guess to piggyback on your sort of thoughts, not that I want more Metal Gear. I don't know if I want more Metal Gear, but what I want that I don't see as much as at least I thought I would, I want that franchise to exist that sort of does to video games that Metal Gear did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I want to feel, it doesn't have to be innovation. It doesn't have to be the best game ever made, but I just want it to feel like sort of someone who's up their own butt a little bit. Sorry, Hideo, we love you, but, you know, a little auteur, right? So very unique. You're going to get very unique experience based on whoever makes it. It doesn't have to be one person. It could be a studio that's incredible. But they also like double down on all the stuff that would make a game good for casual players.
Yeah.
Like, no one can make fun of like Metal Gear Solid because the gameplay isn't tight. Like, the fucking gameplay is tight as shit in that game, and the story's good and all that stuff. And I feel like I'm out on Metal Gear. Like, I'm happy with what we have. I love that there's a community out there, that multiple podcasts and YouTube channels and developers still talk about Metal Gear. It's clearly something special because it's lived on for so long on 5 generations of consoles. And it's just one of those things where I think I'm looking for the next game series to sort of take that like little part of my heart to move forward, and that way I can like truly sit back and just appreciate Metal Gear for what it was and not what it could have been or something like that. Like, I'm ready to close the door on Metal Gear, but I don't want to close it until something else takes that like mantle.
Yeah,
I think is where my heart lies when it comes to the do we want more Metal Gear question.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, you always want to say be careful what you ask for, right?
Right.
And I think this is one of those things. Like, if you keep asking for Metal Gear, and we got Metal Gear Survive, are we going to keep asking for it and see what we get after that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know. I don't really want to deal with that.
Sure. Sure. I'm going to divulge a quick little Metal Gear Survive tidbit to you. I don't think I've ever said it on mic yet. Now it'll be part of this listener response. So when Metal Gear Survive came out, I was doing another podcast at the time, and I was ready to shit on Survive. And I've tried to like stop that side of me where like I just want to hate something so it can't be good, right? I felt a little sort of childish at the time. And I think I want to say the first half hour, maybe the first 40 minutes of the game, it's not a bad like tutorial. And I remember playing it and being like 40 minutes in and being like, oh my God, is this game like going to be good? Like, I remember like, all right, wow, there was a cool opening cinematic. Like, the game looks great. I love the concept of like, you have all your stuff. And then as soon as they were like, here's the gameplay loop, I was like, oh, thank God, this game's shit. Like,
yeah.
It was so frustrating to actually be like Metal Gear got me again. I got the itch. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not Snake, but, you know, I feel like I'm part of Mother Base, or I'm going to run into him or do something. And they did some fan service in that game in the end of it. But to get that little rush in my heart of like, oh my God, is this going to be like a unique Metal Gear, in quotes, experience, to then just throw up a fence, poke him with the stick, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this is a bummer that it wasn't as good, but that's where my heart was. And I think that was like probably the start of like, maybe I should like give games a fair shot before I shit on them or do whatever. Like, I didn't follow the bandwagon. I just sort of created my own, like in my head, of just like, this is going to be bad. And I mean, luckily I was convinced correctly, but yeah. So is there anything, Chris, that you want to sort of air out or finish up as, because I think we're wrapping up here. I didn't want to go too crazy long on this final one. We've done our final thoughts, but if there's like one lasting, you know, impression from this game, or maybe in its relation to a future game, is there anything you want to chime in before we cut the cord here?
I mean, I feel like, we can't say thank you enough to the community.
Yeah.
So thank you again for all you listeners sticking with us, riding out the show and sneaking around. So that's all I got to say, Warren.
That's amazing.
Sneaking around, in our sneaking suits.
That's amazing. But yeah, I'm going to echo Chris. A massive shout out to the listeners, to our patrons. We got such a cool little community, man. And I know I mentioned it in like our last like legit mainline podcast, but Chad and Nick, who are, in so many words, they are like they help us out with just so many little logistical things that go on behind the scenes of the show. They help mod our Discord channel and just help with everything else going on. They even chime in when it comes to podcasts now, and they've kind of got their own little fan base going up on the thoughts that they have, because it's like a whole unique like taste on whatever we're talking about. And it's just it's really cool. And I, a year ago, I didn't really know most of these people outside of listening to them on a podcast. And it's just awesome how nice everybody's been. And I just want to give a massive shout out to Chad and Nick, and then of course our patrons, and overall the community. Like even if we're not your favorite podcast, or the change to the new hosts has been a little different, even the criticisms are constructive and not sort of keyboard warrior, slap you're dumb kind of thing. It's been very like, I love what you do here. Do you guys ever think about going into this? Right? Like it feels like, okay, they're trying to actually assist in us creating a better show for people, which is not something I'm used to like all the time.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like it's certainly an engaging audience, and it's not one that's I don't know, combative or anything like that.
Sure. But yeah, so I think that it's time to let it rip, Jack.
Let it rip.